Well, it's an absolute pleasure for me to bring in this next group of guests from our friends at Sportsnet, Kevin Quinn, Louie DeBrusk, and Drew Remenda.
You didn't say that just a minute ago,
yeah.
did he?
Yeah. No.
He said, why the hell do I have to do this?
Yeah.
Why am I with these
He asked
three?
why we're here and look for our credentials.
I thought you said, do I really have to talk
that's
to
what
these
it was.
guys?
That's
We're
exactly
what he
obligated
said,
to
yeah.
do this, because it is a Rogers building.
Right. You know what's really cute is you guys coordinated on your outfits today.
Yeah.
We got the memo. Great.
We're a team, man.
All
That's what
different,
team does.
and the
Do
dark
you-
denim.
Do you say anything? Do you say anything to the Oilers when they all dress the same on the ice? No, we're a team.
Okay.
Hey,
That's what it is.
You guys roll deep together.
Team unity. Team unity.
Okay, you guys. Let's get down to business here. And
All
quit
right,
cracking on
right
each
to
other.
it. Right
First
to
of
it.
all, the first game of the season, Oilers and Flames. They go back to back tonight and Friday. Just what are we expecting for tonight in the first game in this fantastic new facility?
It almost seems, and the guys have talked about it a little bit, that this is almost going to be like a neutral site game because the fact the Oilers have not played a regular season game in this building. Of course, they played some preseason games here, but there is going to be a different atmosphere in here. And also, you don't often get 45-minute, 50-minute pregame ceremonies. So that's something that we don't talk about a lot,
Yep.
but I mean, Louie, you know
Yep.
about that, and Drew, you as well as a coach, that that has an effect on your routine.
It really does. And, for me, though, the excitement of the first day, right? I mean, the opening of the season is always a big moment for young players and old players alike. It's the first game of the year. You've gone through the exhibition. You've battled it out. And you know what? For this team here, this is the rivalry. This is the Battle of Alberta. You want this to be what it's really hyped up to be. And these two young teams, I think, are poised to really bring back that battle in Alberta.
Is this a game, though, as a player, when you come into a new building, and I know the places that you played in, that first game in front of your crowd, is this a game that's like, guys, we've got to win this friggin' thing?
I think if you listen to the players, that's what they're talking about. They're saying we're looking at this as a must-win, and this is a team, especially the Flames for Edmonton and Edmonton for the Flames, they're battling each other for a playoff spot. So this is a big game. You want to start the season on the right foot, and make no mistake about it, this is the first regular season game at Rogers Place. They want to win their first game.
Having said that, is it almost weird that we're not in the old building, especially
Yeah.
for a couple guys who called a lot of games? You're behind the bench there. You played there. Is it a little bit different not going to Wayne Gretzky Drive in 118th Ave, coming downtown and being in?
Well, I
this
think you
beautiful
more than anybody.
facility?
I mean, you played in the building, broadcast in the building as well.
I got to tell you, I'm going to miss that building. I really will, because that was a lot of great memories for me, for my family, and for the fans here in Edmonton. But from the vibe around the city, I think everybody's very ready for this building here. And the word out early in exhibition, it's been fantastic. The sight lines, the building, the brightness. I've got to take in a game as a spectator as well, and up in the press box, it's fantastic. So you said what? What did you say to me earlier today?
Lou,
Live in the now.
Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Stop hogging the spotlight.
Yeah,
That's what I normally say
yeah,
now that you're on Hockey Night in Canada.
So
Yes.
get out of the way
Big
and
time.
live in the now, not in the past, but bring in the future with this great building.
We were talking about it today. I was counting last night how many buildings since I've been a coach in the league or a broadcaster. 57 buildings now. This is the 57th building when you think about it.
You went through the transition
from the old ones to the new ones, and it's absolutely amazing. But there's seems to be with this building, and the only other place I could think about it was Los Angeles. How the vibe changed downtown,
Yep.
and the vibe is changing here in Edmonton. This is the crown jewel of it.
Quinner, what's it going to be like to call games here, do you think?
I think it's going to be great.
Well, he gets to work with Louie and me, so
best.
obviously it's going to be
He's
great.
really happy.
So if I get over that hurdle, I think it's going to be fantastic. And the thing is, people don't think about it, but you're at home watching technology, lighting.
Yeah.
We talked about going into LA, and it's like, wow, they transferred into LED lighting,
Right.
and what a difference that makes. And then you look at this building, and you go, wow, it is state of the art. And so for guys like us, it's going to be great.
It's funny you bring up the lighting. One of my producers, Jeff Nash, actually took a photo of Rexall Place when we were doing the farewell, and he had 7 different shades of yellow in that building. So the bulbs, it was obviously an older system and different, but the LED lighting is certainly something else, and we're starting to see that across the league.
And I wonder, remember when Los Angeles opened, the players were complaining with the dark seats
Yeah.
and the LED lighting that you kind of lost the puck when it got up on the glass. I wonder if that's going to be a factor here. I guess we'll find out tonight, but nobody had been really talking about it. People have been talking about the ice sort of curing, and also the lively boards.
Yeah.
So maybe that becomes home ice advantage too, is the ability to play that shot wide and get a great kick.
And I will say San Jose, another building, that dark background up against the glass too. And for a player, it's not as effective, or it doesn't affect you as much once people are in the seats. But when it is empty, the warm-up, when you're coming up, that puck goes off the glass and gets up into that dark space, trying to find it. Yeah. It does really make a difference. But I think nowadays, one of the other things here, the seamless glass, people love that. For viewing, players love that.
Rattles
for the bounces
loud.
off, for the bounces off the boards as well are a little bit more accurate. Listen, this is state of the art. This is what the players are getting used to playing in the National Hockey League, and now the Edmonton Oilers have a home they can be really proud of and want to make their own by winning some games here.
Okay, the building's one thing. It's a huge thing, obviously, but when the puck drops and this team gets going for real, guys, obviously we want to see a lot of improvement in this team because you don't want to see another 29th place finish. And where are you expecting this team to go? I know that's loaded. Is it baby steps? Is it incremental? Or can they surprise some people because of the additions and the second year of Todd McLellan and his staff? Where do you see this thing going?
Well, for me, what I wanted to see last year was health. I wanted to see Connor McDavid play an entire season. I wanted to see Oscar Klefbom play an entire season. I want to see Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Jordan Eberle also playing. So I think that every team suffers injuries. But if the Edmonton Oilers can stay healthy, I think they give themselves a fighting chance to be one of those teams. We've talked about how difficult it is in the West, and especially in the Pacific. If everybody is correct, then 5 teams come out of the Central. So you're battling for 3 spots.
Right.
And that's going to make it even harder. But the thing that they've got to do is you've got to win games in your division.
Yeah.
And it starts with winning games at home. And the schedule in October, you look at it, and it's like, wow, they stay in Canada the entire month. Yep. They've got 3 games on the road. So you got to make this place a tough place to play because in November, you're hitting the road.
It seems a little crazy, the first game of the season, you're talking about playoffs already. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, that's how teams focus on the year now. They break it up in segments, and these beginning segments are that important to make the playoffs, and you have to get off to a good start. Not too often do teams do what Anaheim did, come back after a drastic start and make the playoffs. You have to get off to a good start. You have to win games, and like you said, Kevin, especially in your division, you have to win these matchups. So I expect this to be a hard-fought contest tonight. Battle of Alberta, bring it back. But, you know what? This team definitely needs to stay healthy. I mean, that's the number one thing for this team is to stay healthy. And everybody just play to their means. Play to their abilities. Don't even have to overachieve, I would say. Just play to their abilities, and I think they'll have a good chance of making the playoffs.
True. You know Todd McLellan well from your days in San Jose, and you guys are both Saskatoon guys. How does he break down his season? What's his philosophy going into a year like that?
He does do it in segments. Yeah. But Todd is, to me, amazing in the way that he is one of the few coaches that I've ever been around that can think as big picture as he does. But then at the same time, stay in the moment, stay working on the task at hand, and try to keep his players there. He talked yesterday and mentioned about the 45 goals. They got to find 45 goals somewhere. Mm-hmm. Taking away 45, adding 45, but they've got to change that. That's the kind of thing he thinks about. You've seen him carry around that little notebook. That notebook's amazing with the wealth of information that he just jots down when he thinks of something, and then this is what we've got to attack, this is what we've got to attack, this is what our third or fourth line has to do. Todd is a deep thinker. I mean, there's some guys who are like me, about that much of depth. Todd's the Grand Canyon. But he's looking at this as a former player and a coach. Yeah, making the playoffs is important. It's funny you talk about it. When I worked for Kevin Constantine, he walked in the first meeting on training camp day and said, hey, we're here to make the playoffs. We had just lost 71 games the year before. I'm sitting as assistant coach beside Igor Larionov and Sergei Makarov. Igor turns and looks at me and goes, I thought I was playing for the Sharks now. We're making the playoffs. Yeah. But that's how you've got to, I think you have to set the mark and try to enforce it.
Okay, it all starts tonight. Guys, in terms of roster, Jesse Puljujarvi wearing number 98. What do you think of that, first of all?
Okay.
Secondly,
100 wasn't available.
No, not yet, at least. That's when that'll happen when logos go on and branding goes on. Exactly. Yes. We'll get the hundreds. But what do we expect from him, and what do you see in this lineup this year?
Well, I mean, it's a lot to expect of a young guy coming in to the National Hockey League, not named Connor McDavid, so I think you've got to kind of feel your way in, and the rink is smaller, and all those things have to come together. And I mean, even with veterans, I mean, the top line has to form some chemistry with Milan Lucic coming to the new team, and you see the chemistry was starting to come along in terms of chances. The finish wasn't there necessarily for Milan, but that's not a big deal for him. He doesn't score a lot of goals in the preseason, so he's not worried about it. But I think that I go back to what Mike Babcock said. It's 20 games. You really know where you're at after 20 games of the season, whether you're going to be a contender or you're going to be struggling. So if they can find that chemistry and not stay healthy and do all those things, I think that guys like Puljujarvi, it takes the pressure off. And that's a huge thing to keep the pressure off those young guys.
Has the blue line improved enough, Louie?
It's definitely improved, no question. I think it's gotten bigger. You know, when you look at the addition to Clefbaum being healthy back in there, looks like he's ready to put up some big minutes again. Larson looks like he's finding his groove, getting into it. I like the Chris Russell signing. You know, this is a guy that puts his heart on his sleeve, plays a certain way, plays, you know, the way you want hockey players to play. Puts his team first, battles every single shift, puts the work in off the ice, and, you know, plays the style of game that I think Edmonton fans here are going to really like. They saw him enough in Calgary. They're going to see him here in Edmonton doing the same thing. So I like that aspect of it. But it will be a work in progress. And the two left-handed shots playing the right side for me is a little bit of a concern to start things off. We'll see how that plays out. But this is, like you said, Kevin, this is all part of figuring this out in the first 15, 20 games to see how things mix. If you have to make changes, you can. And getting, you know, for young Jesse Puljujarvi, give him the chance, you know, put him in there, put him in situations to succeed, see how he does. You heard Todd McClellan talk about it this morning a little bit. Great players find a way to raise to the occasion. I don't think he had an incredible training camp. I don't think he had a great exhibition, right? But this is the one thing I know about a young player like him. In big stages, he has stepped up and performed. So this will be a big stage for him, a totally different animal, the first game of the regular season against the Flames. We'll see how he can step up and play in that regard.
Besides Connor, I'm excited to watch Milan Lucic, Patrick Maroon, and see what they can do. We saw something from Patrick last year. I thought he showed some character, some leadership, some nastiness, and that was great. Milan, we know what he's like, but we've not been able to see him every day. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works and how that leadership is going to transfer over to some of the younger guys you talked about. And Russell, I think Russell's a great signing. Peter Chiarelli brought up something that was interesting, that from the metrics that they use, the Edmonton Oilers, that Russell was second in the league in clean offensive zone entries for a defenseman last year. Second in the league. So that's one of the metrics, or if you're looking at analytics, that they use. So I think Russell can maybe even bring up, besides all the stuff that you talked about in his game, he could maybe bring up an offensive end to his game as well.
And not the biggest cat in the world, but he gets in front of shots. He blocks a lot of shots.
And listen, when he broke into the National Hockey League coming out of the WHL, he was touted as a really offensive player.
Exactly.
You know, so I mean, this is something that he has to kind of fall back on. He's had to work on the rest of his game, which I admire immensely. The fact that he came in and found another way to be very successful in the NHL. But this team and the way this team wants to play, I think you're exactly right. Allow him to kind of tap into that offense a little more, getting up in the rush.
Okay, well, we'll see how it all comes together tonight as the pucks start flying for real. Guys, always a pleasure hanging out with you. Thanks for doing this today. What?
Are you going to pay us now, or are you pay us off camera? When do we get
we're
that?
digging the new hairstyle too.
Oh, you like
that?
that?
Yeah, I like that.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks that great.
True Remenda, Louie DeBrusk, and Kevin Quinn. Three of my best friends, apparently, evidently.
Not true.
As we go from the Big Bear to the Big Lynx that's made his debut.
I know him.
Hunter the Lynx.
Hunter! I love him.